Good afternoon. I'm Peter Sparanese, City Manager for the City of Abbotsford. Mayor Henry Braun will be providing you with an update on the state of emergency, evacuation orders, return home plan, as well as some information on the recovery works that have been completed to date. I ask that you hold all questions until he has completed his remarks. Staff will also be on hand with microphones as we would like to capture all your questions as part of this overall briefing. Please ensure you speak loudly and clearly into the mic. Over to you, and thank you. Mayor Braun.
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are located on the traditional territories of the Seventh, Matsqui, and Lakamo First Peoples. I'm Henry Braun, the Mayor of Abbotsford, and with me today is our City Manager, Peter Sparanese. Over the past 3 weeks, our city staff, government partners, as well as community and nonprofit groups have worked tirelessly to keep people safe and ultimately do everything we can to help people return home safely as soon as possible. We know that people displaced from their homes due to the evacuation of our Sumas Prairie are anxious to return to their properties. Some of these residents have been seeking shelter at our Emergency Support Services Center at Tradex, while others have stayed with friends or family for many days now. I want you to know that our focus now is on getting you home safely. Ensuring the safety of our residents has always remained our priority, and that means conducting extensive assessments of infrastructure like roads, culverts, bridges, completing rapid damage assessments of structures, including houses, barns, garages, and even gazebos, as well as conducting environmental and hazardous material assessments across Sumas Prairie. Just for context, this area that spans more than 90 square kilometers, which is the size of the city of Burnaby. With repeated and successive flooding events, many of these assessments needed to be done twice. Some good news from this area today: water levels in Sumas Prairie Lake bottom have dropped by 30 millimeters or 12 inches over the past 24 hours. Today, the City of Abbotsford is launching our return home plan. The evacuation areas are detailed on this map beside me and on our corresponding website, which has been structured with residents' continued safety in mind as they return to their homes and businesses in the days to come. We have done our best to provide people with the information and guidance they will need in the days ahead as they turn to agencies and other levels of government for support in rebuilding their lives. The map here beside me, which is also being shown on the screen of your YouTube channel, details our return home plan. There are 4 main areas where evacuation orders will start to be lifted in the days ahead: South, Central, Lake Bottom, and North. Our objective is to ensure that as many people as possible can return home safely while not being held up by areas that may not be accessible due to unsafe conditions. Our corresponding return home website includes this map, and as evacuation orders are lifted, residents will be able to click on their corresponding area and find specific and essential information for their return to their properties. This will include information on which routes are open for accessing their property, where they can find potable water, as well as who to contact for support as they start their cleanup efforts. As the first step in implementing our return home plan, I am lifting the evacuation order for the north area of Sumas Prairie effective immediately. With the lifting of this order, we are asking everyone to exercise extreme caution as they make their way through this newly opened area, especially over the next few days as we have snow in our forecast. Over the coming days, additional services will be made available to the people accessing their properties in this area, including potable water and debris management. We know that for many of the residents, returning to their homes and farms will not be easy. Our rapid damage assessment teams have and will be continuing to assess more than 3,000 structures across Sumas Prairie. Some, including homes, may not be inhabitable. We recognize this may bring many questions, particularly for those who receive a do not enter notice. We have set up a special phone line to assist people with questions that they have about their assessment. This number is provided on the rapid damage assessment notice that residents will find when they return to their property on their front doors or their barns or structure entrances. Between our Return Home website and our Return Home Center at TradeX, we are confident that we can connect people with the information they need to start rebuilding, the rebuilding process. In a disaster like this, disaster financial assistance is provided by provincial and federal governments. While the city is not and cannot be the source of financial support our residents need, that is the responsibility of senior levels of government. Through this website and our Return Home Center, we are going to do our best to ensure residents have access to the information they need and know where to turn for help. I want to remind people that Samaritan's Purse is already here in Abbotsford, providing direct support to people as they consider what's ahead. They have their own emergency operations center set up at Northview Community Church, located at 32040 Downs Road, and are equipped with specialized flood recovery vehicles and equipment to help residents clean up their homes as quickly as possible. While the hardest work remains in front of us as we make steps towards recovery, I know our community will continue to stand together and help each other through this. As always, we will continue to keep you informed of changes and updates in the water levels through our daily updates, as well as the City of Abbotsford website and social media channels. That is my update for you today, and I will take any questions.
Mayor, as you're announcing that the evacuation order has been lifted for the north area, I got the sense that you were emotional saying this. Can you take me through what your feelings are?
Certainly. So the area that we are, by the way, I'm colorblind, totally colorblind, so our staff had to figure out some color schemes here that I can see. And I also did that for the Premier because he's also colorblind. So Mr. Premier, I hope you can see this well. This is the area that we're talking about. So that is the north area, which may seem odd to people because had the flood, Nooksack not overflowed, we would have started here because this was the driest area. But since this bowl shapes this way, this area is relatively dry, and so we're opening this first. We have to wait for the floodwaters to stop coming across the border, which they were still doing at 4:30 this morning. I was out there, and there's water coming across Boundary and Vi Road. So all of this water has to come out this way. This is the dike, Sumas Dike, which of course is completely, there's not a breach there now, so this water all drains into the Sumas River and out the floodgates. This is the lake bottom. They tell me that's red, and this is yellow. This is green, I believe. So this area, the water can't come into the lake anymore. So this area will probably be the next, but that's something we're going to have to look at in the next couple of days. And you asked me something else. About my emotions. Well, yes, I've watched people's hearts break. People have lost everything. Some relatively unscathed, but many. And so I know many. I have friends up there. So I'm glad to see them go back.
So it sounds like central area is next.
Well, this area will be last. So there's still. The lake dropped 12 inches. We had no precipitation, and there was no rain in the catchment area. So 12 inches is the most we've ever gained, I think, up to then, 6-7 inches maybe. One day we actually lost 3 inches. They actually raised, the lake level raised 3 inches. So this will be next, but we have to wait for the floodwaters. Vi Road still had 6 to 8 inches when I drove over it this morning at 4:30, running at a pretty good clip across the street. So we can't let people in here yet. And we have to now wait and let those waters recede. Then we're going to have a look at this over the weekend, Monday, and then we'll make some further assessments of what we can do.
Okay, so it'll be fair to say that a timeline is still uncertain until
If you can tell me when the water is going to be gone here, I can tell you what, roughly. I still couldn't tell you because we may have to go back and reassess some structures for a third time. So there's a lot of work that's being taken place here and has been and will be and will continue to be actually, so in the days ahead.
And as of what time were people in the north area able to go home?
I lifted that, I said immediately, so they can go in right now. The website will be is up and running. There's a QR code for them when they get there, both here and over there, that will give them the information for all of the properties in here. There's roughly 240, I think. There's 1,100 parcels altogether in the prairie, so it's 25%. And they will be happy, I'm pretty sure.
Do you have any idea of how many homes are going to be labeled as inhabitable?
No, I don't know how many homes will be labeled as inhabitable. It's not a large number, but
Right.
I don't have that detail. I try to stay away from that detail. But if people click on that, they will find out very quickly for each area, not just this area, but as we move along.
But you also said that you're going to be looking for senior level of support here. I mean, obviously, Abbotsford does not have those kind of pockets to, like, how promising do you think that will be? Can you forward that to these people? I mean, does it look promising?
Well, when it comes to disasters, that is a responsibility of the federal and provincial governments. Local governments, of all the taxes that people pay, only 8 to 10 cents comes to local government. The other 90 to 92% is more or less equally split between the federal government and the provincial government. So we need their help. And even the private sector will probably, this is a generous community. I know already there's people in the private sector who want to help, but they don't have the kind of money that this will take. This is a national effort, and it has to be, because we're talking just the dikes alone to rebuild Sumas and Fraser is $1 billion. I know that already from reports. That's $1 billion.
Right.
Never mind the infrastructure that's been damaged and the houses. But yeah, there's a lot of information that will be found on that. I don't want to say it's a large number. It's not a large number, but we have one house that's destroyed that we know of.
Yeah.
One.
People have been watching you for almost 3 weeks now, every day. You can see it in your face how much it's, played a big role in your own personal level. Can you say to people now that you think the storm it sounds encouraging now from this point on, does it not?
I am very encouraged. We are definitely through this. I mean, I have no idea what's coming at us 3 weeks from now, if anything, but the forecast for the next 2 weeks is very good. And we can handle rain events. 50, 100 millimeters of rain doesn't scare me. That's what this is designed for. In the Netherlands, they've been living in this kind of environment for over 500 years. What messed us up was the water that came from the Nooksack. That we couldn't handle, and I think everybody understands that. But yes, I am greatly encouraged. I'm probably going to have my best sleep tonight that I've had.
I talked to you last week regarding that same issue. Do you think from this point on, Abbotsford's going to look at it a different view every year now because climate change, whatever. Are you sure that the American side is going to be looking at it the same way too? I mean, that's got to be addressed over there too.
That I don't know. The governor sent some flowers over yesterday, which my wife greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
But there'll be lots of time for discussion. We're still focused on this and now the recovery. I want it to be really clear, though. The hardest work is still ahead of us. This is going to be a long process. For some, it'll be 5 years that I can see already, the blueberry farmers. Others, maybe 6 months or a year, and others in between those two ranges. But this is, and we may not fully recover for a decade, people tell me. I don't have any information. I'm just listening to people who are a lot smarter than I am about economics and what the impact has done, not only to our city, but to our province and actually to our country. I'm an old railroader, so I keep track of what the railroads are doing, and I was glad to see that CN is going to open up their track, their Ashcroft subdivision, which runs from Kamloops to Vancouver over the weekend. So that means there's going to be goods and services, containers coming in and out of our ports because they're plugged. Ships are plugged, or plugged. They're not plugged. They're out on the on the water waiting. I think 30 days to unload is kind of the backup. So this is enormous for, I don't think anyone provincially or federally knows yet the totality of the damage that has been caused by Abbotsford in the middle of the Fraser Valley.
From this
And
point on,
others as well.
Are you going to be able to get some sleep now a little bit better?
Absolutely. Actually, I haven't had problems getting sleep. I usually doze off while I'm almost having my dinner. What I've been struggling with is getting up at 2. I wake up at 2 and I can't go back to sleep. So then I think, oh, I might as well go out and see what's cooking out there. Anyone else?
On the same note, but a little switching gears, across the street there's an employment office that's hiring hundreds of jobs to help with the rebuild, to help with the recovery efforts. How important is that for everyone to jump in?
I didn't hear the first part of that.
There's an employment office just across the street that's hiring hundreds of jobs.
Okay,
For the rebuild.
I wasn't aware of that, but still a lot of things that I'm not aware of. There's our staff. We've got a staff of 1,300 people. There's a lot of people that would know that, but our staff can certainly, I mean, that's great. There's lots of work out here. There's probably more work than there are suppliers, because there are supply chains disruptions all over the place. Certain commodities may not be as readily available as they were, say, a month ago. So, but that's all good news. Thank you. I don't see any other hands. So, with the floodwaters continuing to cross the U.S. border, it's going to take a couple of days for these to recede and the rest of the prairie to drain. So, because of this, there will not be much for us to update you on over the weekend. So, we will continue to monitor the situation throughout the weekend, and we will to monitor the situation and bring services in for those residents that are returning to that north portion of Sumas Prairie. So our next briefing for you will be Monday, December the 6th at 2 p.m. Thank you. The military have been outstanding, and they're still here, and they will stay here for some portion of time, but I don't have any timelines for that. Thank you.